Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new. Thank you for taking time out of your day to check the video out. We have more PlayStation news, rumors, and leaks to go over and cover today, so do me a favor before we dive into these topics. Hit that like button if you end up enjoying the video or finding it informative, and consider hitting that subscribe button as well if you're new here to the channel. The first topic is talking about the new Sony TV lineup. The 2023 models have officially been announced by Sony, and they get some new PS5 exclusive features. This is being reported by PlayStation Lifestyle, where they say Sony has unveiled its 2023 Bravia XR TVs, a new range of what it considers the best TVs for PS5. According to the company, those who fork out the cash will be in for a treat when it comes to gaming, as the new Bravia XR TVs take PS5 gaming, quote, to the next level, end quote, with exclusive features. The new range of Bravia TVs are the X90L, which is full array LED, the X93L, which is a mini LED, the X95L, which is also mini LED, A95L, which is QD OLED, and the A80L, which is OLED. They offer auto HDR tone mapping, auto genre picture mode, and a dedicated game menu for tailored settings. The game menu allows players to quickly turn on or off variable refresh rate, or VRR, and motion blur reduction. Players can also easily adjust brightness, black equalizer, and screen size, among other settings. With the newly added game menu, it's never been easier to fine-tune gaming settings and assist functions, Sony writes. All the essentials are at the gamer's fingertips for on-the-fly adjustments. And finally, it says the A95 model comes with a new multi-view feature, which allows players to watch walkthroughs and guides side by side while simultaneously playing games. So certainly very interesting there, but yeah, Sony was a little bit later than usual with their reveals here of the new TV models. But yeah, I'm interested. What do you guys think about this? What do you think about the new Bravia XR lineup here? Is it something that you're going to consider upgrading to, or do you feel content with the TV you're currently playing on? Let me know. Moving on to the next topic, we are talking about God of War Ragnarok and how it is officially the most nominated BAFTA game ever, which is certainly impressive. It says here, God of War Ragnarok has received a whopping 14 nominations at the BAFTA Game Awards 2023, breaking the record for the highest number of BAFTA nominations ever for a game. As for other PlayStation exclusives, Stray received 8 nominations, while Horizon Forbidden West took 5. Elden Ring, one of Ragnarok's biggest competitors for Best Game, received a total of 7 nominations. And it's worth noting that last year the most BAFTA-nominated game was Returnal, with 8. So yeah, just wanted to highlight this briefly because, we have seen God of War, as well as Elden Ring and other games, be awarded since they launched, but this is definitely something that I think is pretty impressive. Like, I have to imagine that Santa Monica Studios feeling pretty good right now with 14 total nominations, breaking a record. The BAFTAs are pretty important to developers and people within the gaming industry, so that's why I wanted to let you know about this. Next up, talking about God of War, apparently Final Fantasy 16 draws inspiration from God of War. This is what the director is revealing. Again, from PS Lifestyle, it says Final Fantasy 16 gameplay draws inspiration from God of War, director Hiroshi Takai has said. Takai revealed that he's been a fan of the Santa Monica Studio franchise since the first game released on the PS2. Speaking to GameSpot, Takai explained that Final Fantasy 16's structure is similar to God of War, and that it has a hub that will lead players to the main scenario quests. The hub area will also give players access to locations that they've unlocked in order to complete side quests and other missions. Players can choose to continue with the main story or tackle side content that they've unlocked. This hub is called Hideaway in Final Fantasy 16, and it's where a lot of the game's RPG elements come into play. There is a shop, a blacksmith, NPCs, a hunt board, and much more. Hunt board is described as something that gives players clues to certain locations in the world map where they can hunt notorious marks and earn materials and rewards. To say that there's no influence of the series God of War on me and this game would be a lie, Takai added. So yeah, had to let you guys know about this because I think that's certainly something that is likely making everybody who worked on God of War Ragnarok feel pretty good, considering, how beloved and long-standing a game series like Final Fantasy is. To hear that the latest iteration is actually taking inspiration from the more recent God of War games. I think that's actually great because I loved God of War 2018 and Ragnarok. So yeah, they're speaking my language here. But moving on to the next topic, we have a crucial update to the ongoing Microsoft Activision Blizzard acquisition pertaining to Sony. Apparently, Sony must reveal PlayStation exclusivity deals in the Microsoft Activision case. This is what the FTC is ruling. Again, being reported by PS Lifestyle, Sony has suffered its first defeat in the ongoing Microsoft Activision case as the Federal Trade Commission, or the FTC, has ruled that it must reveal its third-party PlayStation exclusivity deals. To fight off the FTC lawsuit over its impending acquisition of Activision Blizzard, Microsoft subpoenaed Sony, demanding a laundry list of documents that it felt was relevant to the case. This included personnel files of PlayStation executives and third-party exclusivity deals. In response, Sony filed a motion to quash or limit the subpoena, accusing Microsoft of obvious harassment. Unfortunately for Sony, FTC's judge mostly disagrees. Quote, "The nature and extent of SIE's content licensing agreements are relevant to the complaint's allegations of exclusivity arrangements between video game console developers and video game developers and publishers," end quote. That's exactly what the FTC ruled in response to Sony's argument that going through decades worth of files and business records is an unnecessary burden. The FTC reduced the date range of documents required. Microsoft had requested records from January 1st, 2012 onwards. The FTC has limited this to January 1st, 2019 onwards. What the FTC did grant Sony, however, was its request to withhold employee performance reviews and evaluations. Microsoft claimed that such personal data might candidly discuss the information it requires. The FTC disagreed. So this is certainly an interesting update when it comes to PlayStation's involvement here. Obviously, Sony doesn't want to have to give any of this information over, but I have to imagine that surely their legal team informed them that there's a good chance they're going to have to give this information over, considering they are pushing back so aggressively against this. And what's interesting about it is I can't help but think to myself, Sony has not revealed virtually any first-party exclusive games in the past year, but what they have been doing is revealing a ton of third-party exclusive games like Silent Hill 2 Remake, Rise of the Ronin, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, obviously the upcoming Final Fantasy 16, and games like Death Stranding 2, and the list just goes on. And I almost have to wonder if this was done strategically. Maybe their lawyers informed them quite some time ago that, hey, if this gets taken to court, you may have to give them this information and let them know about your exclusivity deals. Maybe this is why Sony decided to reveal so many at one time. I'm not saying we know about everything. I'm sure there are some deals that have yet to be announced and talked about, and Sony will obviously have to make the FTC aware of this. I do wonder if we, the public, are going to learn about any of these deals, or if this is going to remain kind of under wraps. But that's just the first thought that kind of ran through my mind, because it's like, well, it sounds bad, but realistically speaking, I think we all kind of know what Sony does with these exclusivity deals, right? Like, we look at Final Fantasy VII Remake and see that hasn't released on Xbox yet. It's hard to say if Final Fantasy 16 will. Maybe games like Silent Hill 2 Remake will. What about Rise of the Ronin? Death Stranding probably won't, but yeah, it's interesting nonetheless. So wanted to give you guys this update, and I'll continue to update you when it comes to anything involving Sony in this ongoing situation. But next up, we have Sony making it clear that they want to make PlayStation the best place to play third-party games. This is coming from Push Square, where they say third-party exclusives are becoming less common these days, which means platform holders like Sony need to find savvy ways to entice players into their ecosystem. This can be done, one executive says, by making PlayStation the best place to play. In an interview with GamesIndustry.biz, head of third-party portfolio and acquisitions, Sean Benson, discusses some of the reasons why such arrangements are less common nowadays, and said there's room for exclusives where it makes sense, obviously, but really the focus, especially with a digital distribution model that is more prevalent than in generations past, is that there are different types of gameplay out there. As the industry grows, so too does the breadth of experiences available to the gamer, and a one-size-fits-all approach won't work for everything. Benson explains, for example, a free-to-play game's business model is most successful when it's on as many platforms as possible and brings the biggest audience possible. Still, when the opportunity arrives, Benson says, what is more important than any exclusivity deal is making the PlayStation version of a game stand out as being the best, and this can be achieved through a skillful application of existing tech. Benson asked the question, what kind of innovation can they apply with the haptics in the DualSense or the adaptive triggers? What could they do with the 3D audio and the sound design of the game, etc.? So there's a lot of things we could do and then create marketing stories around. And that's where some of these partnerships for multi-platform games really focus. So I wanted to cover this because it's not too often that we hear an executive at PlayStation talk about their approach to third-party deals that they make. It's interesting because they're seemingly downplaying to a degree the third-party exclusives that they have and the deals that they make. It's understandable why they would downplay it at a time like this. They're talking about how they really try to work to make it so that some games, the best version is on PS5. We've seen them do this with big third-party titles time and time again, most recently with a game like Hogwarts Legacy. This is a multi-platform game, but we really saw how Sony was very aggressive in trying to really, leverage anything they could and market this game in association with PlayStation. And I'm sure it's, done really good things for them when it comes to how it's maybe pushed sales on the PlayStation platform. So yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts on that. But moving to the final topic here, we have a report from VGC. The title reads, Xbox Series X and S has sold 18.5 million versus PS5's 30 million. This is what an analysis firm estimates. In a newly published review of the console market in 2022, Ampere Analysis Pierce Harding Rolls estimated that 18.5 million consoles had been sold by the end of last year, at least when it comes to Xbox. Harding Rolls notes that while sales of both the PS5 and Xbox Series X were held back due to ongoing stock shortages, Xbox managed to slightly increase its share of unit sales over the past year due to the more widely available Xbox Series S. However, he notes the level of demand for Series S during the holiday season, even with pricing promotions, suggests that it does not have the high-end pull of its bigger brother. Last month, Sony announced that it was now much easier to find a PS5, claiming that its hardware shortage was coming to an end, while Microsoft has yet to make a similar claim for the Xbox Series X. As such, Harding Rolls predicts that the sales gap between the PS5 and the Xbox Series X and S will continue in the first half of 2023, at least until Xbox Series X shortages end. Elsewhere in his analysis, Harding Rolls claims that Microsoft's share of the gaming market, combining sales of hardware, game content, and subscriptions, grew from 25.5% in 2021 to 27.3% in 2022, while Sony's dropped from 46.3% to 45%. So I wanted to discuss this with you guys because there are a couple of interesting things I think that we're getting from this. The first being that, the PS5 is currently outpacing the Xbox Series consoles, which is not a huge surprise. I don't think anybody, is surprised to learn this information. But the thing that I'm paying attention to is how this analysis, anyway, seems to focus on the fact that Sony talked about the shortage ending for the PS5 and then goes on to imply that the shortage somehow didn't end for the Xbox Series X. That's very strange to me. They even say that they expect things to change in the second half of 2023. I don't know. It's weird because I'm not sure how Sony could get their hands on these components and, announce that, hey, there's no more shortage, but Microsoft can't. It doesn't really make much sense to me. But something else that I did want to point out here is that we look at the market share, and I don't think it's really working in Microsoft's favor at this moment in time, because Microsoft is trying to make the argument to regulators that, Sony is just completely dominant in market share and they're not growing, they're shrinking, that being Microsoft. And when we look at this, it does show that they are in fact growing. They grew by not a substantial amount, but still a noticeable amount, and Sony did drop. So that kind of works, I would say, in Sony's favor. But again, considering the percentage is so small, I don't know that it's really going to make a huge difference. But Nonetheless, this is kind of an update we're getting. Getting some numbers out here on, how well the PS5 selling versus the Xbox consoles. Either way, I think they're both doing good, which you love to see, and I hope that they both continue to sell really well because, we want to see a healthy, thriving console market. But that's going to do it for the video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. I hope you found it informative. Again, if you did, leave it a like, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.